Today, we're making the classic patty melt. Crispy, buttery bread, caramelized onions, a homemade sauce, and a juicy burger in the middle. I'm starting with the caramelized onions because they're going to take the longest, and getting them started first allows me to work on the rest of the ingredients while they cook. I'm using 2 large sweet onions. First, I'll cut off the ends, slice them in half, remove the outer peel and the first layer, and then slice them into roughly 1/4-inch pieces. I'm cooking them in a stainless steel pan, but you can also use a nonstick pan or an enameled Dutch oven. I start off by adding 3 tablespoons of olive oil, followed by the onions and a little salt. The salt helps draw moisture out of the onions and encourages them to start softening. I'm also adding a small amount of water and covering the pan with a lid. I'll let them cook covered for about 10 to 15 minutes over medium heat. This initial steaming helps the onions soften and cook down more quickly before we start the actual caramelization process. Once the onions have softened, I'll remove the lid and continue cooking them uncovered. This is where the real caramelization begins. Depending on how dark and how deeply caramelized you want them, this can take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. I stir them every few minutes, making sure they cook evenly and don't burn. If they start sticking to the bottom of the pan or getting too dark too quickly, don't worry. Just add a small splash of water and scrape up those flavorful brown bits from the bottom. The key here is to take your time. Low and slow is the way to go here. The longer you cook them, the deeper and sweeter the flavors become. And now for the sauce. In goes 1/2 cup of mayonnaise, 3 tablespoons of ketchup, 2 tablespoons of sweet relish, 1/2 teaspoon of sugar, 1/8 teaspoon of smoked paprika, 1 teaspoon of white vinegar, and a pinch of salt and a pinch of black pepper. Traditionally, patty melts are often served with Thousand Island or Russian dressing. I'm making my own homemade sauce that's very similar to Thousand Island. I prefer making it from scratch because it's quick and easy and I can adjust the flavors exactly how I like them. The creamy, sweet, and tangy flavor goes really well with the beef, melted cheese, and caramelized onions. I also added a little smoked paprika, which I think takes it to another level. I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap and refrigerate it for at least 30 minutes. This gives all those flavors a chance to come together before we add it to the patty melt. For my patty melt, I'm using 80-20 ground beef. I like the 80-20 ratio because it has enough fat to keep the burger juicy while also giving us those delicious crispy edges on the griddle. I'm using a 6-ounce portion of beef, so I'm going to weigh that out first. Quick pro tip. I like to put a little plastic wrap over the kitchen scale before weighing the meat. It keeps the scale clean and makes cleanup a whole lot easier. Then, I'm going to add 3/4 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce for a little extra savory umami flavor. I'm going to gently mix the Worcestershire sauce into the beef. You don't want to overwork the meat because the more you handle it, the denser and tougher the burger can become. Just mix it enough to evenly distribute the Worcestershire sauce. Next, I'm going to place the beef between 2 sheets of wax paper, and I'm going to use a burger press to flatten out the meat. The wax paper makes it easy to flatten the meat without it sticking, and it also keeps your burger press clean. You don't need a burger press for this though. You could also just use the bottom of a small skillet or simply flatten it gently with your hands. I'm pressing the beef out and I want it to be a little larger than my bread. The meat will shrink as it cooks, so I want the patty to extend about a 1/2 inch beyond the edges of the bread, all the way around. I like to hold the bread over the top as a guide so I can make sure the beef is going to cover the entire sandwich once it's cooked. Now I'll season one side with salt and pepper. That's the side I'm going to put down first on the griddle. I've got my griddle set up with a hot side for cooking the burger and a cooler side where I'll toast the bread later. I'm adding just a little avocado oil to the hot side since it has a high smoke point and is perfect for high heat cooking. For the burger, I'm looking for my griddle to be around 375 to 400 degrees. That's hot enough to get a nice sear and those crispy brown edges while still giving the burger time to cook properly. Now, I'm ready to get this patty on the griddle, seasoned side down. Once it hits the griddle, I'll season the other side with a little more salt and pepper. Next, I'm going to butter 2 slices of rye bread with room temperature butter. making sure to coat one side of each slice. I prefer not to toast the inside of the bread. Some people do, but leaving it untoasted gives the bread a softer texture on the inside, and it allows it to better absorb the burger sauce and juices from the patty. I find that it also gives you a nice contrast between the crisp, buttery exterior and the soft, flavorful interior. While the burger continues to cook, I'm looking for the edges to develop a nice crust and for the burger to release easily from the pan before flipping. Once the first side has developed a nice crust, I'll flip the burger and continue cooking until the internal temperature reaches 160 degrees. Before I start assembling the patty melt, I'm going to check the temperature on the cooler side of my grill. I want that side to be around 350 to 375 degrees Fahrenheit. It gives you enough heat to develop that crisp golden crust without the bread burning before the cheese has a chance to melt. And now we build. I'll start with the rye bread, butter side down, and add some of my burger sauce to the top. Next, I'll add 2 slices of Swiss cheese, followed by the burger, then the caramelized onions, and 2 more slices of Swiss cheese. Then we finish with a little more burger sauce on top. Then, place the second slice of rye bread on top, buttered side facing up. That way, when we flip the sandwich, the buttered side will be directly against the pan in order to get that nice golden brown crust. From here, I'm going to let the patty melt cook until the bread is beautifully golden brown and crisp, and the cheese is melted and gooey. Once the first side is golden brown and crisp, carefully flip the patty melt. And that's exactly the crust I'm looking for. Now we let the other side finish cooking until it's equally golden brown and the cheese is completely melted. Cheers. It's really good.